Still waiting for Darkman to chime in with his usual comment here.
Hold on. You know,
Okay.
you can't force this, okay?
Are you sure?
It'll happen eventually.
Positive.
There are signs, literal signs in the game.
We'll just let it play out at this point. I think I've said my piece, you know, last week. I had my moments, and I'm just gonna let it speak for itself.
Okay.
What the heck version of the game is Joe playing? Why are his buttons colors and not X's?
Huh.
I'm so confused.
That is weird.
Huh.
Oh well,
That's something to talk about, I guess.
we can never figure out the answer.
Alright, we are just about ready to go. Game 2, best of 3, StJoe, Argick. Argick must win this to continue on to Game 3.
Oh, okay. So this is that controller that we heard word of before last week. It has
the-
analog buttons.
Oh, right, the really weird... Okay.
I still don't know exactly what that means, but I guess you can kind of use an analog stick even though the game doesn't intentionally support it. That's my perception of what it is, but
He can like twist the controller too or something like that.
okay.
What's the name
That's
of that
cool.
controller?
The twisty controller.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what it's called.
I'm gonna Google Twisty PSX controller.
Okay. We have Wipeout, very fast game. Nothing else to say about it, other than yeah, you guys know.
Okay,
You know what you need to not do.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So it's the Neo G-Com from Namco, and
Okay.
looking at it, it like rotates in the middle, which I don't understand what that's for, but its D-pad is basically like an Xbox 360 D-pad, where it's really just an analog stick with a D-pad on top of it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think we've seen anyone else use this, so I wonder how much of an effect it really has. I could see it maybe making some of the turns later in the game easier though, but yeah, it's hard to say.
Got some good times so far. They're in the 20s.
I mean, Joe's already opening up a pretty significant lead for the first race.
Yeah. He's gained about 12 seconds over Argick so far. And it seems like that's gonna be... Yeah, it's a 14-second lead right now. Which is almost a full lap of this course.
Yeah, it's really building up. Argick just isn't picking it up quite as quickly as Joe is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit more rust in the game. Might just be Joe's really comfortable with his weird rotating controller.
Did Joe play this last week? I don't recall. I feel like we would have noticed the controller
no.
thing though. Yeah.
Oh wait, did he play some girl? He did play some girl in this game, I thought. and
Oh
then
yeah,
Game
you're right.
3.
You're right. Okay.
I don't remember noticing the controller. Probably
so
just
we'll
wasn't
see.
looking then.
So we'll see if Argick can pick it back up. Because Joe's clearly more familiar with it in the sense that he just practiced more recently, but I don't know. Argick did pretty well in the big race, so we'll see how he can get back into it here. This is where the game starts to get harder, and it'll kind of continue that for a little while, but they just throw way more sharp turns at you, and it's really hard to work with it.
Yeah, then it stops getting harder, gets a little bit easier, and then stage 8 happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, already there's a difference, and Argick is going faster on track 2 than track 1 and compared to Joe.
I guess I'll give this a proper explanation though this week. We kind of alluded to it earlier because we talked about it like 5 times last week when it kept showing up every match, but really the goal in this game is to just not hit things. You slow down so much whenever you hit a wall, you'll actually lose probably like a second and a half or 2 seconds every single time you hit a wall hard and come to a stop. And it's tremendously faster to just brake and kind of drift around turns, so every single wall hit you see is going to be pretty much bad news. And yeah, a lot of the optimization is just kind of figuring out how to approach these turns. Some of them are really, really hard to hit. You might see a shoulder button thrust. We still don't know what you actually call it in the game, but Joe's implementing it a bit here. It's kind of like the F-Zero thing. Probably not quite as substantial, but you can kind of just shift your vehicle and it helps make some of these tight turns a bit easier to deal with. Yeah, Joe's still extending his lead here. They do have energy bars as well. If those deplete all the way, you blow up and you restart the level. But every lap there is a little energy recharge path. Do that and manage their energy properly. If they don't, they'll blow up and they'll restart the track, and that's really bad. And you do have to win the races to move on as well, which shouldn't be too hard for these guys, but yeah, if you fail a race, it's pretty much bad news.
I'm actually kind of surprised that people are still continuing to pick Wipeout as a game, because I feel like we've seen Wipeout the most out of any of the games so far in the playoffs, and there have been no surprises, no upsets. It hasn't even been close. The person that was favored to win ends up winning, and I feel like that has to do a lot with the game mechanics. Like, it just doesn't lend itself well to like a comeback, by another player. So yeah, it could be that just the competitors don't have a choice in the matter. They have to keep a game in which they're reasonably competent at. I'm just surprised to see it shown up so much at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we haven't really seen an upset. Pika kept it close with Gel, but it was, again, it was 40 seconds off, just like it was in the main season race. So yeah, even though it was close, it was the expected result. Yeah, I think this is a game that you definitely need to freshen up on if you're gonna pick it.
Yeah, during the main race, what was it? We were going over it, and then the first place Kushat's finished, and then we were talking about the second place racers because he was 2 minutes ahead of everybody. And then they finished, and then in the middle of every time we were talking, someone else finished like immediately. Like the top 13 slots were all within like a minute of each other. So I think that might be why everybody is reasonably like neutral about this game, is because everyone knows that their time is about as close as the other person.
Sure. I think my point is more so that like a minute difference in this game is like 10 minutes difference in another game.
I could see that, yeah.
There's just not a lot of opportunity for like a comeback, because it's like if one person is better in one map than the others, like there's just not going to be a lot of room for them to make a mistake. Maybe a lack of two here or there. That's going to cost you 8 seconds, but other than that, like it's a matter of consistency, right? Like with this game.
Yeah, we might see someone do something like too risky and blow up. I don't like that Argick just went past the energy booster and just got his energy warning on the third lap, because that means he's taking more than a quarter of his damage per lap, and he might blow up here, and that would be really bad. It's gonna be close. And just barely gets into the recharge pad.
We're getting into the 4th track here out of 8. This one's pretty similar to the last one, I think, in terms of difficulty. More of the same kind of turns. A couple of really dark tunnels for no reason that make the game kind of hard. This one is way easier to go out of bounds on, though. That's the thing that seems to happen quite often. Some of the walls are just broken for some reason, but Usually it's not an issue as long as you don't ram into it super hard.
You just fly through them with the power of Red Bull.
Yeah, let's go with that. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that my my memory is rubbing off on you guys.
I mean, I think, hang on, I'm just gonna count. Let's see, 1, 2,
This is a good idea.
There's about 3 seconds per Red Bull sign on the track that Joe is on right now, so
Is that a new unit?
that's time. Yeah, that's how you measure how this race is going. Is there time between Red Bull signs?
S
Not
per
nothing else.
S per RB.
So Argick is 3 SPRBs apart.
This is a good game. I'm glad this is here. I'm glad we're seeing it 6 times.
I was only slightly surprised that it wasn't in every single race we were gonna see today. Mostly because Rams has got to play Ninja again. Which, I'm gonna say just defend, you know, maybe 1 death less, and definitely could have taken that, so. But, Wipeout. Kind of wish this game had a mechanic that lended better to its name, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. If you like hit a wall, or like even just like Burnout, you just crash into a wall and just go everywhere. Reset back on the track. Probably make it ridiculously hard though. Looks like everyone is. Joe's built almost a minute lead at this point, or a little bit over a minute lead.
Yeah, this is pretty big lead at this point.
Let's see. Argick should be finishing this lap right here. And so Joe has got a 53-second lead, although he's about to finish this track. And it's probably just going to keep growing, considering average lap times are about 3 seconds behind, and Argick might explode here, and that would probably seal it.
Oh boy.
Argick is really low on energy. These turns are really hard to not hit walls on sometimes. He's really close and makes it into the energy refill, thankfully.
Alright.
That would have been very bad.
So how did the positions work in this game? I know, like, you see there's a 1 out of 15. Like, is it like Mario Kart, where it's just the NPC can do whatever it wants, or is it predetermined?
So it's pretty much predetermined. There's one part where it's not quite predetermined. It's in the first lap, where the racers decide to go super duper fast, and you really can't tell which one is gonna go where, because they all kind of clump up at the start, but they move to a particular pace position, and they just kind of keep a pace. So if you know what pace you're supposed to hit, for example, there are a couple tracks that are, if you have a 40-second lap every single time, you will tie with the first place car. And so you can always tell, as long as you're beating that pace, that you're gonna do okay. The fun thing is, and I haven't seen, I saw it once on the first track with Joe, and I hadn't really seen it again, is there is a start at every track. You can get kind of like a Mario Kart type boost. And if you get in front of one of these cars that are going unbelievably fast just so they can set a pace, that you'll get a huge boost forward and you'll be able to go much faster than you normally would on the very first lap. And I think usually if you're keeping good pace, you'll go from 16th to 9th place to 6th place to 3rd place to 1st place if you keep a consistent track in the tracks respectively. So Joe being in 2nd place on lap 3, he's already very ahead of the pace that he needs for this track, which I believe is 41 seconds or something like that. So there is a little bit of an interesting mechanic, but unlike, say, F-Zero, where the other racers are just kind of existing sometimes, these guys you can all kind of interact with all the time. You can always tell what car is ahead of you because they're the ones shooting at The rest of them are just kind of there. And I don't actually necessarily know if they're even ones you're lapping or they just kind of exist as you go around the track X amount of speed. Because I never seem to run into an area where they're not there.
Joe looks like he's killing it on this course. 34s? Like,
Yeah.
don't you need like 42 or 43 average to...
Oh, he did the thing!
The ACM.
I definitely think he stole that, because it's so
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few areas in the game where you can go out of bounds and not get pulled in by the Lakitu car. Which sometimes if you touch a ramp the wrong way, that can just decide you went out of bounds, so that's a really cool thing to see. It'd be nice if more of that was in the game, but then this race would probably be like 14 minutes long. We'd probably be done by now if you could cut through walls. Joe was finishing up track 5 right now. Really big lead for him. Still anyone's race if he takes a really bad next track and just crash into walls and explode, but I don't think we've seen an explosion yet on Wipeout.
No, a couple really close calls, but no actual explosions. And I remember he'll probably do it again in this race too, but in the last race, Joe was very conservative with his energy. Always went into the energy refills early if need be, if there was any remote possibility of danger. So he plays this game very, very carefully, very safely, and obviously quick too. So
Yeah, unlike say Jal, who hadn't taken an energy refill since the third map until
Yeah.
he decided because of a weird collision he was taking an energy refill.
yeah, I like Gel's approach. I don't know if it's the best, but it's my favorite. Yeah, this one's pretty hard though. I'd say this. Do you think this might be the hardest track in the game for the Piranha, just in the sense of not hitting walls?
I'd say it was 8, but that's only true of like exactly one place, the zigzaggy pitch black corridor.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
This one's pretty obnoxious, but you do have it has some of my favorite parts in the game as well, just because it has a ton of air jumps in it. And you get a lot more control in the air. But yeah, that last turn right before the checkpoint, I don't think I've ever not hit that wall. So
Okay.
I think I'm gonna agree with you there, because I have gone through that pitch black area without hitting it once. I crashed immediately after I got out, but I didn't do it.
Okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah. You know, it looked like Joe was building his lead a little bit better, but he's still only about a minute or so ahead. It hasn't really changed too much. So unless Joe just has a really bad track, he's still on pace to where he wants to be. He's in position 3 on the 4th lap, which is ahead of the pace that you need to keep to beat it. That guy in front of him is 2nd place. You know, they have weird tells when they're in the position. They shoot weapons, they have like the shield thing. They move differently than the other cars that aren't in your way. The other ones just kind of are on a rail.
Yeah, that's true. I never really noticed that. But yeah, there are quite a few differences in how they behave.
It was always something that I was looking for, because I'm not great at racing games, but if I could see that 1st place car, I was going to try really hard to pass him. Joe gets shot with a missile from behind. Having some not so great laps. Argick making up some time here. It's made up a total of 1 second.
That's a good start.
Yeah. Only has to do that 60 more times, but unfortunately there's only about 10 laps in the race left for Joe, so... barring an explosion on track 8 or a 2nd place finish, both of which are possible. It's a really hard track.
Yeah. Yeah, 8 I could see things going wrong for almost anyone. Especially if mines hit you, because those things do so much damage so fast.
Yeah, and 8 has the recharge after the start of the race, so
Right.
at least that one, if you hit your warning energy as low as you finish the 4th lap or the 3rd lap, you don't feel terrible because it's still coming up right ahead. Okay.
This track really isn't too bad, I don't think. It's kind of weird in the difficulty curve. Generally this game gets harder, but I don't know, this one's kind of a calm before the storm, I might say.
I really like 7.
Yeah, it's a fun track.
I kept finishing in 2nd place on it when I was practicing, just because of one particular, so collision in this game is a thing. Sometimes it's not there, sometimes it's more there than it should be. And some of the corners by this ramp, you'll hit, and then you'll just get turned immediately into the wall, and you'll hit it like 5 or 6 times. And it sucks, and it wastes like 4 seconds. And when you're just narrowly keeping your margin, when you're like ahead of the pace car by like a second, that's enough to make you lose. But I like 7. It's got a cool aesthetic. And this really cool hallway that you just tap L and R like in a rhythm, and you just go straight through it really fast. And it's cool that Joe just went through.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know you could do that. That's interesting.
That
I feel
was
like,
yeah.
yeah, usually those shoulder buttons don't really do a whole lot other than straightening you out over some of the tighter turns, which really is important, but I didn't know you could use them to maneuver through little jagged straightaway like sections like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, they like wiggle you about a little bit, and it's just enough because that one is just ever so slightly, so you just move a little bit, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I can see that working. Okay.
Hoping we're gonna see a cool drift from Joe on the next trap.
Oh yeah, the Joe drift.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see one. At least one. Keep an eye out for the Joe drift. It's a sight to behold.
It's really clean and pretty looking.
Only one more to go for Joe, though. Should be in good shape here, barring something horrible happening.
Yeah, if he explodes, I can see that. But they've all been like several seconds ahead of the pace car. Like track 7, the time you need to hit is 41 seconds, and like even Argick, who's doing less well, is already like 9 seconds ahead, or actually 10 seconds ahead of that. So he gets Lackitude because he fell out of bounds.
Oh, there it is. The Joe drift.
There we go. So clean.
Yeah. This track is really just amazing to see fast.
That's a flat 30. That's a crazy good time.
That is. I don't think I've seen a time that good before. Maybe from Kushis, but I don't know. That was a while ago.
Yeah. He did world record while he was on the stream, so.
That's true. So Joe just got through that tunnel you were talking about without hitting anything.
Yeah.
He did right as he left, but
Yeah, that's one of the other places that using the LR tapping is something that really helps there. Joe taking the safety energy refill.
Yep. This will be a much slower lap, mainly because he went for the energy, but actually it was faster than the second lap. How did that happen? Everything else went great, I guess.
It's because of where he hit his he hit himself at the end of the tunnel. It messed up his drift. He just hit the ceiling?
I don't know, that was
really
weird.
surprised that had collision, actually.
He's on pace for a really good time.
Ooh, he almost did 2 Joe drifts there.
Yeah, this actually is gonna be insane. This is gonna be... It's gonna be really close if he gets a comparable lap. This is gonna be a sub 25, which is ridiculous.
There's only one person in the races that got a sub 25, and that's Kushas, who's the world record holder after learning this game.
Yeah, Kushas also got a sub 24. So.
Yeah.
But damn, Joe put in the wipeout.
This is a great lap, too. Oh!
Oh no!
It's still wait.
Oh, no. Is this gonna be it?
It's so close. You get it?
Oh, his race time is a 25:02. I don't know.
I robbed him. Good showing though. Yeah, that he PB'd by like let's see here, 28 seconds. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good way to win your match.
That was, and his comment is he had to get that Lakitu in. That Lakitu is one of the ones where if you hit the ramp just wrong, it ruins your life, and it's just you lose 4 seconds. Sometimes I've seen it where you lose like a 1/10 of a second, and he just drops you immediately back on the track. And other times he just flies around for like forever, and it just never ends. But congrats to Joe for taking it over Argick. 2-0. So far, I think I'm not wrong about this, but I think the only 2 zeros have been by the first and second place seed.
Sorry, say that again?
I think the only 2 zeros so far have been by the first and second place seed.
There were 1 or 2 more, but yeah, they're 2-0 both times, so they're doing pretty well. Definitely showing why they're top 2 seeds, I would say.
I thought they were up there because there were a bunch of 1-2s last week.
Oh yeah. Surprising amount of 2-1s.
Oh, there we go. He just went through the wall.
Nice.
There, I'm glad that some of the weird collision, because like the wall, like if you ride high on that last jump and like even skirt that wall that they just turned against, you'll go through that too. But I hadn't seen the one that Argick just got ever. Argick gonna have a pretty good time.
$27.08.
All right. Well, with that, Joe takes it 2-0. Excuse me. And he'll be advancing on to our semifinals tomorrow. So good job. Congrats to Joe. Congrats to Argick for competing.
Yeah.
Made it all the way to the top 8.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so.